All right, so it is 6 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. I will do Pledge of Allegiance first and then introductions.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I really appreciate how my own
All right, introductions. Don, you want to start off?
Don Collins, school board member, live in Swanton.
Peter Magnet, school board member, Franklin.
Stephanie Gagne, school board member, Swanton.
Elaine Nestor, school board member, Highgate.
Joanne Johnston, school board member, Franklin.
Rennick Donald Martin, chair.
Laura McAllister, director of finance and operations.
Bonnie Moulton, director of human resources.
Julie Regenball, superintendent. And Adam is kindly here from IT to run our meeting for us, so thank you, Adam.
And in the distance.
Yashua Bastina, principal here at Swanton.
Jess Barbo, assistant principal here at Swanton.
Okay, thank you. Julie, before we start, do you want to let...
Absolutely. I just wanted to thank Jess and Yeshua. They wanted to be here for our first meeting, but we don't have administrators at this meeting. We have everybody at our next board meeting. And so thank you for coming in to welcome everybody to the first one board meeting.
For the tour.
For the tour. Thank you. Thank you. Have a very good first day of school tomorrow.
We will, thanks. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Next item, we have correspondent visitors, public comments. Is there any public comments at this time? Agenda review. Is there anything to change around or add?
I do not.
Okay. Looking for approval of the minutes for August 12th, 2025. If I can get a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Lane. And a second.
I'll second them.
Any discussion on the minutes? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes for August 12th, please say aye.
Aye.
Those abstain? Pierrette? Yes, thumbs up. Okay, all right, so next we have some presentation and discussion items. Up first is the review of our board goals from our retreat.
So I handed them out to you. You've got board on one side and district on the other. So make sure you're looking at the board goal side. And this is what I copied from Debbie, who sent us, I think she sent all of you an email with what you had chosen for your board goals. So you want to look at them and discuss.
So I'll just go ahead and read off for anyone listening what we came up with for our board goals, and then we can decide if we want to have any discussion or if we want to officially adopt those as our board goals,
Right.
or if we want to move further discussion for another time. So number one, we had one, at least annually, the board formally evaluates the performance of the superintendent based on superintendent's progress towards meeting agreed upon goals. We had two, the board annually review whether and or how its actions contributions have impacted the school system's success in meeting goals. We had three, the board annually evaluates the effectiveness of community engagement and public communications efforts. 4, the board stays apprised of proposed legislation and policy making that may affect its school systems and students. And then 5, the board will monitor the implementation of strategic plan and or CIP goals by reports to the board at least 4 times a year, with end of year student data presented each June. Any discussion about any of those goals? Do we want to keep them all? How is everyone feeling? Go ahead, Joanne.
Okay, well, so I'm not sure if you guys remember from the retreat, but there was an action plan that Deb had also provided. So just something to keep in mind if we do want to keep all 5 goals, if we want to do an action plan. So just kind of 2-part question there. Just wanted to throw that in there.
I'm all for that idea. Can you read kind of what the action plan entails?
Sure. So, it was just kind of answering some questions. So I think there will be some work involved in this. Obviously, maybe on the side, maybe something that a couple board members could kind of brainstorm over and then bring back to the board. But so action steps, what steps will be initiated to achieve this goal? Who will be responsible for initiating or sustaining the action steps, the time frame, what's a realistic time frame for the phase of the goal, resources needed, professional development money, those are just examples. Will anyone need additional training to be able to complete this work? And then the status. So I don't want to assume, but maybe quarterly we could revisit the goals, or we could do a goal per month, I don't know, and then just kind of, is it started, is the goal in progress, or is our goal completed? That's what the action plan looks like for each goal.
So would it be sort of like developing like a calendar to check in and when we do certain things, or are we also talked about tying that into our agendas, right? And just knowing like which items are, because we have like our yearly agenda for the meetings, like the big topics we're covering,
Right.
and maybe we could just sort of add a column which would say this is maybe tying into which goals.
My hope is that our student success meeting that we're going to have, I was hoping that group could maybe look at that calendar together, like what are we going to bring to the full board, and maybe they could be part of the brainstorming of how to do something like the superintendent evaluation is an easy one. You'll have a group of people tasked to do it, and you'll assign it, and Joanne's work plan is a great example of how you would go about doing that. And the last one, I was thinking maybe student success could help us with timing that out. And then the others, how are you going to measure that? I think it'd be a great idea to have a couple of people to discuss. How are we going to measure that? What's available? What are we going to use to measure our community engagement instead of the district's community engagement?
Yep.
Those kinds of things. And maybe student success is a group that wants to look at that. I don't know, Joanne. Possibly.
So we have potentially come up with some sort of an action plan for follow-up for the goals, and do we want to adopt?
You still want 5, I think
Yes.
is your original
I think-
question.
Yes, do we still want all 5 of these as our goals for the year?
I do.
I do.
And I say that because if you look at 3 and 4, with all that's going on with the task force, certainly wouldn't want to eliminate either one of them. We certainly have improved that process for evaluating the superintendent. We don't want to take and delineate that. So I don't see anything there that I would want to delete.
All right, somebody want to make a motion to adopt the board goals?
I'll make a motion to
Second.
adopt these 5 board
5.
goals.
I'll second.
All right, we have,
A little emphasis on
and just catching you up, Megan, we had our board goals from last time.
Yep.
And we just discussed if we want to keep them all. And yes, and then Joanne just said we should have some sort of action plan for how we're going to implement them, or potentially discuss some of that with the student success committee.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
any further discussion on that? Okay. All in favor of adopting the 5 board goals, say aye.
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 Motion will carry 8. All right, next we had the review of our district goals. I'll read them out. Purette, she was a thumbs up.
So 9.
No.
No,
8.
8. Tracy's not.
I'm sorry.
Okay, district goals we had. The Missisquoi Valley School District will increase the overall achievement of our students so that outcomes will continue to improve in accordance with our MVSD continuous improvement plan, and achievement gaps for children who struggle will close. 2, the Missisquoi Valley School District will improve post-secondary outcomes for students as measured by increased college enrollment, professional credential attainment, enrollment in apprenticeships, and successful employment after graduation. 3, the district will increase its retention of educational professional staff. And then 4, the district will improve student attendance as measured by reducing the number of students identified as being low, moderate, or high risk or chronically truancy. So, Julie, you want to kind of narrate that about the
Certainly.
district goals?
So you last changed these in 2 falls ago, and then agreed to carry them over again. These are what are currently at the front of our draft strategic plan, but I will shift them or change them if you like. You added truancy 2 years ago because you really wanted to make sure that was on there. These are aligned with the values that you've talked about. They're aligned with our strategic plan. Our strategic plan will help report out on these things throughout the year, and at the end of year, they've been great driving force for our school district. And I appreciate the fact that, next month when we meet, sorry, I interrupted my own self. I appreciate the fact that there's this alignment, right, between the district goals, the strategic plan that fleshes out more strategies to get us toward those goals. Then we report out every year on how it happened. I just love that alignment. I think there's a real power with that. And I think there's real agreement across the district that these are important things. And I appreciate the fact that the board has made a point to talk about what are its priorities. And so that's there. But if you had a different priority, if you said, we're done with teacher retention, we feel like that's okay, we now want, all staff retention, or we want to move away from truancy and we want to be thinking about some other goal, because you've done that over the past several years too. Now would be the time to have that discussion.
Any thoughts on some of the district goals, or?
I think we should increase number 3 to all staff.
I agree with this.
Because we've increased the educational retention by a lot.
I like that. Bonnie's nodding because she loves that.
You're welcome, Bonnie.
What did you want to do with them?
Change it to all staff instead of just educational professionals.
We went through a time when we were really behind the 8 ball with maintenance staff, and we were contracting, and it was not a good time. And we've done a good job, but I think we need to stay on top of it. So I think that they are very important to the school, and I'd like to see us move to make sure we keep our paraeducators, but also our maintenance staff.
Custodial staff and admin assistants, and it's also negotiations for support staff this year. And I think it aligns with, if we have a goal to retain them, it sends a message.
That's good.
My only add, even though we clearly do it, is there's nothing here about facilities. I know it's maybe inherent that it's a district goal, but
I can't hear you. I know.
It's in statute that the board is stewards of their facilities. I mean,
It's also in our strategic plan.
so
He was asking about facilities.
I just said the only thing about the district goals is there's nothing about the facilities.
Oh, okay.
investing in.
Okay, it's inherent, right, that we do it, but it just, I think it would be good to reflect that all the work that facility committee is doing and that we've put into, again, the building we just looked at, just have that reflected as that is also one of the district's priorities to maintain that, because it feeds into everything else. So there's nothing new to be done, but, you know, you could add a line and just say MVSD will continue to, some language that.
To invest in,
If you, because I do think it needs to be well-written, that we could take it up at our next facilities meeting and discuss language for a fifth district goal to do with facilities.
Well, and I can look at the strategic plan goal, so that for that, we have a whole pillar of effectiveness of operations, and it would behoove me to see what we wrote.
I'll add it to the.
Provide safe and secure modern facilities
Yeah.
is the overarching goal.
That's my add-on, just because they're so forward-facing, and it would be good for the public to see that we're doing it, but we're also doing it because it's one of the district goals, so.
I think that's very important. I appreciate the Rennet bringing that up. And I think it's going to become more important as we talk about merger, because I would say that no school district in this part of the state has done more to their facilities in the last 5 years than we have. And so I think we really need to be upfront about it. As people talk with partnerships, there are some schools that are in big need, and I don't think we are in big need at this point in time. There's always ongoing things, so I think it's a wise thing to do.
So I'm just trying, I think Peter's right, we should talk about it more. But I want to draft something for our strategic planning meeting in September, you know, because I would like the board to adopt it, all of that. But something like the district will ensure or will provide safe and secure modern facilities, or something like that. And then under that, there are a lot of bullets of how different ways that we do that. Allocating funds for preventative maintenance and all of the things.
Yeah, I mean, we need to talk about clean, healthy buildings, right? To
Right.
keep our children safe, so.
Developing and executing our capital improvement plan, all with mixed of funding sources,
Yeah.
like all of those things are in our strategic plan, but it's nice to have an umbrella
Right.
goal.
So next meeting is the strategic planning meeting with admin. I would say, because we came up with these district goals, correct?
Yes.
So part of me wonders if the administration and yourself and your team, maybe there's some things that you might want to suggest that we tweak, seeing as sort of like the governance, operational level, like, hey, you know, our board
These are
goals-
ours to implement.
Yeah,
and
so if there's things that you think we should maybe add to it, and then maybe I would say we move to potentially adopt these next meeting. And that gives time for facilities to meet and do all that.
Sounds good.
Rennick, maybe this is nitpicking, but in number 2, will improve post-secondary outcomes for students. I think the word all should go there, and part of it is if you go up to number 1, we talk about overall achievement for all students.
Yeah.
That's a good edit. Thank you, Don.
So I would just say, Julie, maybe look at all the district goals and then just carefully, like if there's certain words or things, especially we want to be inclusive, you know, and make sure that, you know, we're including everyone, diversity, and then facilities can work on that language, and then if there's other add-ons, I think in there we should put that Bonnie can't lose anyone next year. I like how you stopped typing.
My name.
But yeah, that way if you also have some add-ons too, because that's a good point, you just make sure all the language is good.
I'd like to see number 4 looked at as well, because it's, like, I'm trying to think, how do we know if we met that goal? Because it's kind of vague, reducing the number of students identified as being low, moderate, or high risk. It'd be nice to know how big is this problem, and how, like, have solid data to how much do we want to reduce it by?
Yeah, we've kept it at reduce, and you know, every year we show you the data from year to year and those categories. But it is tricky because you're talking about very small numbers of students when you get in those things, so it's
We can
sometimes.
talk percentages or something, but we should have something that tells us that we're making good progress, we're not making such good progress.
Right. So we may need to rework that then. And I will look, also next time will be, the strategic plan is happening sort of before the meeting with the whole admin team, and the administrators are going to stay. We're going to have the continuous improvement plans presented to you by all the schools. You've already seen the district-wide one, but they're going to highlight what's different about Franklin and Swanton and Highgate and MVU. And attendance is one of the ones that's often in an individual schools. So I will make sure I take a look at those finalized plans to see if there's a measurement in there that might make more sense.
Okay.
Or maybe we say as measured by our continuous improvement rate, but something.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Any other add-ons, suggestions for the district goals? Okay, so we will add that to possible action for next meeting. Okay. All right. Okay. Next item, we had just redistricting task force and SU discussion, just to have like a quick update and touch point on that. Julie, did you want to kind of give us any updates from the
meeting on
Yeah.
the 19th? And I didn't watch all of it because I couldn't. I don't know if you watched all of it, Megan?
I didn't watch all of it, but I watched all of the afternoon.
I watched more of the beginning. In general, they seem to focus on their draft template for proposing new district maps, and they went through what they meant and discussed those. That is linked. I have like a half a page overview for you, and then I linked the video meeting to it in case you wanted that. I also have can easily put in the drive the draft that they have for what they're going to look at for those proposed new district maps. Their plans are being evaluated against a consistent set of goals: reducing cost, improving quality, increasing efficiency, be achievable, enhance equity and fairness, and support community voice. And you can imagine, spent hours having that discussion and what each of those things look like. And to support the evaluation of these proposals, the task force is requesting data on several key areas, including cost drivers, on special education. I'm sitting on a team right now that's meeting every week, preparing a report to the legislature. Well, the agency's preparing the report, and we're the field that is reviewing it all and giving feedback. Staff reports, health costs, inflation, and health costs is just absent from this legislation. It's one of the largest drivers that we have. District condition, so they're seeking data on, to Dawn's point, the facilities in districts and where they are in terms of their quality. School board vacancies and turnover. There are some we've often had a challenge filling a position or maybe two, but really never. But there are boards out there that have long vacant seats. Impact of past legislation on school districts, the state capacity and assessment of the agency of ed and the general state's capacity to support this complex change, and then information to map where students live and attend school and optimal school locations and where the mountains are that you may not see on a certain kind of map. And there are lots of places in Vermont where it looks like it's next door, but it really is not. And then they had I did not see this part of it, but they had a conversation about the Commission on the Future of Public Education, and their task is really to be focused on some public hearings, and they were having a conversation about that. And I don't know, you may have seen more of that.
I didn't see anything about that committee. I don't know if they mentioned it before I logged on, but there was a lot of conversation about the public input and what that would look like, and I guess the amount of power. I don't know what the right word is, but how much I would take that into consideration. There was a lot of conversation about that, and whether it was or was not even appropriate to reach out to districts and areas and get their input, because that's not the bill. The bill is a top down, and they were talking about bottom up. So there was a lot of conversation about it. They are going to be doing it by the sounds of it. And it sounds like they are going to try to be traveling as well, so that they can get input from as many members of the public as possible.
That's good.
Do
Glad
they,
I didn't know.
do they have a timeline? What's the timeline?
That I don't know.
Like-
For the meetings?
No.
For the public meetings?
Well,
or?
from now until, when is it? Is it until?
We have to have the
December. Yeah, the report's December.
December 1.
So any of this traveling roadshow stuff has to be happening sooner rather than later.
There are a lot of questions about technical. And I think that's one of the questions that was in the document in the drive, was a list of questions that they had put together.
Yes.
About how to start thinking about everything. And one of them was, like, are the people who show up to daytime meetings really reflective of the community? Why not? How can we go about making sure that we're not just hearing from that one group who is available from 8:30 to 3 o'clock during a weekday, which is honestly not the majority of folks. So it's nice that they're thinking about those things.
I just know when Act 46 happened, it was an important part of the process that they had these regional meetings across. We all got in a bus and we, drove places together to listen to what people had to say. And it was, at the very least, they couldn't say that they didn't hear from a lot of people, right? And that's an important part.
What I got from the back and forth was that there's a strong desire to do that, but they're also concerned that given the language of the bill, which is the legislature is going to do this.
Yes.
And knowing how Act 46 went over in some communities, that I think that there's some legit concern that being heard is equivalent in some people's minds to getting what they want. And I think that's legit. It's, you want to hear everybody, but at the same time, everybody also needs to understand that at the end of the day, the bill is written the way it is. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I hope that they go, and I hope that people are able to show up, and I hope that they hold it at times where people who work full-time can actually attend.
Mm-hmm. I know since we met last, Rank, you want to talk about the fact that you reached out to...
Yeah, so what were you saying, Joanne? I have heard from Maple Run, so they did coordinate. There's discussion of maybe a broader meeting with some of the superintendents and chairs, just to sort of understand, like, each board is considering things what they do and don't want. A lot of boards are just starting to talk about this now. I don't think anybody's expressed any sort of final decision because, again, I think we're all trying to weigh the same thing, which is, do we have a say or do we not have a say, right? And so the conversations are happening, but they did reach out and they said that they're open to talk. So
Who did you say the conversations were with?
I reached out to the chair of Maple Run in
Okay.
Franklin Northeast.
Northeast.
Right, and they said, yeah, we should probably sit and discuss at some point. And they're all individually doing the same thing, trying to see what their boards kind of want. But I think more broadly, trying to understand because, and I've been grappling with this, which is, I feel like it would be one thing if the legislator had written and said that we are requesting that boards go out and sort of do this, then we'd have like a directive. But it's not written that way. And so I think people are trying to figure out, where should we be placing this? So the talks are open and we'll just have to see where it goes. And before that, I did hear from the chair for South Hero or Grand Isle. That was previously, so.
The gentleman that was on the.
That was South Hero.
Who listed it. So that's where we are so far. Right, early stages. Yes, Tom?
Yeah, following up on that meeting, and I attended part of it too, they had a terrible time with their system, trying to take and get in. Some people couldn't get in, I couldn't get in the beginning. But after that, not that day, but after, I became aware of a comment made by a member of the task force, and I think it was informational, that a couple of things that they're really looking to happen, and one of them is public engagement. Whether you're going to do an SD or an SU is not. I know that's the way I asked for it when we talked about the agenda item, but this person indicated that they want to know how school boards are engaging with their public. And one person said that in some communities, didn't identify them, there's already been discussions between school boards and select boards, and I guess in the cities they're probably trustees or something. So I don't know if that's something we want to start talking about, to at least give those people information. The comment was made that if you don't engage people now, you certainly will after this takes effect, because they'll come out of the woodwork saying, you never told us anything and you went and did what? And the other thing was, and I don't know, maybe this is wrong, but was that school districts should, if they're working toward an SD or an SU or whatever, start putting together information to share with the commission. Then I've heard that the commission doesn't care what people say, but I don't think that's the case. But anyway, I think the biggest reason I wanted tonight, the SUSD, is I think at some point we're going to have to grapple with that, and I would say sooner the better, but more importantly, to have that discussion with our communities. And I thought Megan made a good point. No, that's not, we don't want to hear only from the people who are available until 5 o'clock at night. So where do we do it? Do we do one big one? Do we go to Franklin? Do we go to Swanton? Do we go to Highgate and try to engage the public? Or do we just say, no, we aren't going to do it, we'll let it happen? And I think that'd be a mistake if we don't start communicating with our public.
I think there's communicating and then there's getting input, and the getting input is what makes me nervous given how poorly it went over with Act 46. Because again, the way the law is written, it is the legislature is going to do what they're going to do. I mean, to your point, we don't even know whether or not they're going to listen to us. I think that's a huge thing that they need to make very clear, is what the expectations are, because there are going to be some very angry school board members if it comes out like, oh, well, you didn't just go ahead and do this and now it's going to be held against you. So I think first that needs to be clear, but also it's with something that is so up in the air. There's so many off-ramps to this bill, and it makes me nervous to go out and gather public input because, again, that was done for 46. The legislature did what they wanted, and we heard about it for months. It took months for that, and for the majority of people to back down. And I don't want to put whether that's us or a future board in that position where we go out and say, what do you want to do? And then the majority of people say, this is what we want, and the opposite happens because it's not in our hands. So I am all about, I want public input, I want transparency, but when it is something that we have very little, if any, control over, it makes me nervous.
Well, I guess I'd respectfully disagree with you because I think that talking with the public and telling them what you just said might be very important. Let them understand that we want to listen, we want to hear them, but much of it's beyond our control. But, you know, the board will decide what else to do, but I think silence and delay and stalling is going to come back to bite us. But that's one person's opinion.
I'm a bit in the middle, just my opinion, because we are discussing some of these things. We are in a public board meeting, right? And, you know, this is something that's been going on. And so I think that there's probably a middle ground between the two. I mean, we're having these talks now. My only take is a little bit different, which is it's sort of like before the bill 454?
Yeah.
454 was passed. It was very difficult to know how we were going to navigate because it continually kept changing. And this task force, all the things they're breaking down and what they have to propose is still just a potential proposal. And then the legislative session will start. And if anybody knows how things can change in the legislature, it's done, right? And so my only thing that I think we should really be thoughtful about whatever we do is right now, you know, these decisions were implemented by the legislator. We could all have opinions about them, but to enact anything preemptively when we're not explicitly asked, I think could one way, shape, or form put us in a disadvantage. And I just think we should make sure that if we're doing something that we really know that's the right course of action to take, not what we do, but that's the course that we should be taking. So I think sooner rather than later, as Dawn said, but also we be prudent in how we do it when we decide to do certain things. Just because each week it's changing. I hear a lot of political rumbling in the background that there's an intent for some of this stuff to just stall potentially on purpose. And so I just think that we should really just think as we go forward. But we have to be open with the public, and we always want input. So if there was ever a way, you know, to get that, then I think that's a good thing from as many people as possible. Anyone else have anything? Jay, do you want to add something?
Yeah, well, you know, this is the second time that I've heard about how terrible Act 46 was. And I remember that 9 years ago quite vividly because I was heavily involved in that. And I just wanted to say the second time that I've heard this being said, and I just want to remind you that not all that came out of the Act 46 process was bad. What we saw is an unprecedented rally of community members that came and advocated for their schools.
Right.
And not only that, but I remind you that we, according to the law, we used the authority that was given to us by statute to build an alternative governance structure. But in our case, the State Board of Education decided to force us into a preferred governance structure rather than approve our our alternative governance structure. But had it not been for that group of board members, community members, and people getting together, a very large core group of people, we would not have developed the Articles of Agreement that contributed to the success of the MVSD. And we wouldn't have the board that we ended up to make the kinds of decisions that we did that provided us with a path to succeed in implementing something that was forced upon us under very, very difficult circumstances. So that whole process, what came out of it, not all of it was quite as bad as you'd like to make it out to be. So there was some good that came out of it.
I don't think I implied that it was bad to come out of it, that the feedback we received at those meetings was harsh.
And my personally speaking, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I was one of the ones that were really opposed to the Act 46, mainly because I was afraid that it could close my schools. But through the hard work of this board and the hard work of the community that got together and poured their heart and soul into trying to come up with a plan to go forward that would work for us, and have it to actually work, that's something that I'm worried about losing. Now, I agree with, to that extent, I agree with Megan saying that the district that we have is a supervisory district. And that works so long as you're not being coupled in with other supervisory districts, because let's face it, what's going to happen is if you're thrown in with other SDs, this board is going to be dissolved. And not only that, but your Articles of Agreement are going to be gone. And then you're going to have to wait until the voting board task force gets together sometime after December to figure out how the voting is going to take place and apportion the number of board members you're going to have based on the 14th Amendment and the Equal Protection Clause. That's what's going to happen.
Thank you.
Now, that's not going to happen if you go with the supervisory union. At least to the extent that you're going to have members of your board intact, you're going to have your Articles of Agreement intact, and you're going to be able to have a voice on who you have represented on the supervisory board. And that's not to say that, Julie, you're going to be gone, you're going to be gone, and Bonnie, you're going to be gone, and Kosha's going to be gone. That decision is to be made by representatives of this board and others that are appointed. Now, I actually saw the whole meeting on the 19th, and they talked about test maps that they want to put in. They were very careful to say that they don't want the test maps to be seen as the map because they don't want to be blamed. You know, so they were really careful about it. Oh, by the way, Jay Nichols is the new,
Yeah, I heard that.
the new chair of the Commission on Future Public Education. But I'm just pointing out these things because this is going to be a really important decision. And it's one that I think that the board would be well advised to seek public input on, especially because of the way things went down during Act 46. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes if it came to an SU and all of a sudden we decided, we find out later that if we were gone to SD, it would have been better off for us or vice versa.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
The only thing I wanted to add about that part would be, and just to clarify, what you asked me to do is reach out to the superintendents throughout the county, so I did include Franklin West in that email invitation. And that may be, rather than have it be like Maple Run does a thing and Missisquoi does a thing, and maybe there's some kind of large community event we could do to get, and everybody invites their select board members and everybody invites certain, right? And so that might be a topic of conversation between those joint, those board chairs about how to do some kind of
maybe
community,
like a public facing event where we can all kind of, because it would be good if we could just all get in a room and then talk it out, right? And then sort of get ahead of some of that would be good.
It's just to
So-
at least ask
Yeah,
our neighbors.
I like that. So if the board wants, so we have a pretty packed meeting next meeting, right?
We do.
The meeting after that, we can bring this back up and sort of get some updates on where we are and kind of further discuss a little bit.
When is our next meeting?
So the 9th.
The 9th.
The 9th.
And the 10th is the next redistricting.
The 8th, I think.
Day.
Oh, it's the 8th.
So
Okay.
our meeting after that would be the 26th. So we can
Yes.
put that as a future agenda item.
FYI, I will not be here for that.
Okay. All right. Any other comment?
The only comment I want to make is time goes by really fast. So I think the beginning of December will be here in a blink of an eye. So I don't
Absolutely.
know, if, like a backwards timeline, some sort of timeline of what, we should be thinking about doing because already now we're into the last week of September before we talk about this again. So this public committee meeting, within the chairs and the superintendents, is great. But so if we don't talk about this again until the end of September, then I'm just throwing out a time frame, but we're looking at the middle of October possibly before a meeting
Well,
like that was
What we
to be had.
could do is after the next September meeting, if we feel time's running short, we can always call a special meeting for it after that.
Well, September 29th is your deadline.
So I think I heard you, Rennick, say we've got a packed agenda going forward or a lot of things.
No, just next meeting.
Okay.
Just the next one. And then
You
after.
know, I'm probably not going to keep harping on this, but I really think there's a good chance that some of our communities are going to be big losers if we don't start some of these discussions. And I like Julie's idea, but I would think that should happen in the next month.
Yeah.
October, we start talking budgets. So if I was chair then, I would say, don't put any more items on the agenda. We're going to start November budget. So I just see us just stalling. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not going to sit here and waste time debating it. It will come, and whoever's at this board in 10 years from now will say they made a good decision or were they asleep at the wheel. And that's up to the other 8 members.
I have a comment. So I hear what you're both saying about time and this report is due December 1st. There's an input deadline. My only concern with jumping the gun is that it ends up that we're doing just that. We don't have a clear directive, and this has already taken up so much bandwidth for everybody. And I don't want us to put in the time and effort and only to be told you shouldn't have done that. So my only hesitation is that there's still no clear directive from the task force or the legislature about what we should be doing. And so that's it. That is my only concern. If everybody else is like, it's worth it, just in case, then that's fine. But that is my concern because it's a lot. And I know that conversations have been taking place. It's not like these items are in a vacuum and they're only looked at during these meetings. Like work goes on between tonight and the next meeting and the next meeting. So I just want to be cognizant of people's bandwidth and doing what is expected, and whatever future board looks like, I don't think anybody can say we're asleep at the wheel because we're having these conversations. There are boards that aren't having these conversations. So again, that's just my 2 cents. I don't like that there's no clear directive. That's it.
I think we've got a comment online. Got our hand raised.
Pirat, is that you?
My comment with that is I think that we should certainly consider meeting, with the whether it's Maple Run and Franklin Northeast, but I think it should be, someone beside, not only the chair, but I'm just thinking maybe a small committee that would meet with the chair and maybe a small committee from the others, so that so that there's a little bit of variety of input before we have this big meeting where all the public comes in. I just think it seems like it would make sense to me that we have a little discussion, but the discussion should be involving more than just the chair of each board. That's one thing I wanted to say. And the other thing is I kind of agree with Dawn. I think we should, I understand, I want to say that I do understand where you're coming from, that yes, we're not giving a directive. But at the same time, I feel like as their task force meeting, they're trying to figure out what the map might look like, who should go where. I don't know how that's going to all work, but I am thinking that if we provide input and just say, this is, we've met with, I'm just making up something, we met with Maple Run, we met with Franklin Northeast, and we'd like to be with them. And let's say all three of us say that this is what we would like to do. It's just a suggestion to them. Whether they reject it or accept it, it's neither here nor there. But it would seem to me, if I was on the task force and several boards came forward and said, we would like to combine, that I might consider that, well, that is one less thing I have to do. These are all cooperative boards. They feel like this is what they want to do. We should really consider it. I don't think that we're going to get slapped on the hand for making the suggestion. It's just a suggestion. But I think if we do nothing, we're going to have it done to us. And that's why I feel like we should do something.
Okay.
I agree. And I guess I don't quite understand, there's no directive, but yet there's a deadline.
The deadline is for that's for the task force.
So it seems like they're looking for information.
That part is not, unless I'm missing something, Julie. That part is not explicitly made clear or not. They have their own deadline for what they need to accomplish.
Their public input deadlines, I think, is what you're talking about, and I'm not sure what those dates are. So we'll have to get those. And I think
Well, I can tell you, I just worked 4 days in southeastern White River South, and many of the school districts down there were in the newspaper, reading minutes from different meetings, not just school meetings, were discussing what they were going to share with the tax committee. I didn't get involved in those discussions, even though I was asked about a whole other issue, a school district that had a $5 million deficit. But anyway, putting all that aside, and I hear Megan, what she's saying, but I wonder why all these other districts are doing that. I mean, I don't know if Julie has a handle on it, if the superintendents do, but I'm hearing a lot of districts, and I'm not just talking about the Alliance and what they do. A lot of districts are holding meetings. Some of them must have had special meetings because unless they meet every week or so. But I can't believe that the districts that are responding to the task force are doing it because they figure it's a waste of time. Now, maybe it is. But, if nobody else was doing it, I'd say, well, I guess we read them right. But others are stepping forward.
I would like to say, I didn't say, nor did I imply that it was a waste of time. I am saying if we move forward and we are gathering public input and we are going and we are doing this, that it's not a waste of time, but at the end of the day, it could be absolutely nothing that we are working toward. That is my concern.
I just feel like that if we don't say anything, that the committee and maybe even the legislature will think, well, they're fine with whatever we do. So it's like they don't really care, so we can, however it works out, they're gonna be fine with it.
Renee.
Yes.
Just one point of interest. There's been a lot of discussion about different kind of combinations within Franklin County. Different schools, including the Franklin West, the Franklin Maple Run, us, Franklin Northeast, and Grand Isle. But one of the things that comes up with it is when the voting board task force apportions board members, they're going to do it on the basis of proportional representation. They have no other choice. And so what will happen is the population of Fairfield and St. Albans City and St. Albans Town is 16,180 people. And the number of students they have is like 2,700 students. Now, all they would need to do would be to merge one of us, either the Franklin Northeast or the MVSD. Actually, the Franklin Northeast is the Northern Mountain Valley Unified Union School District. They got 2 of those, by the way, up there. But anyway, all they need is one to meet the 4,000 student requirement. And if we happen to be the one that merges with St. Albans, because of proportional representation, we're going to have the majority of the board members. And I wouldn't, based on the conversation that I saw on 19, I wouldn't expect us to have more than 5 to 7 board members.
Thank you, Jay. All right.
The other thing too, I've been mentioning, sorry. They won't merge Franklin Northeast because there's a tech center there, there's a tech center in St. Albans, so they won't merge those two.
I appreciate the comment. I think once I'm sure if we had a crystal ball, this would be easy, wouldn't it? Okay.
Could I say something else, Renee? I just feel like if there's not enough time to discuss this at the next meeting, then I feel like waiting until the end of September is, I don't want to say too late, but I really feel like we need to have a special meeting before that time if we can't discuss this at the next meeting. Because I really think it's important for us to decide what direction we're going to go and be in a place where we can provide some input for the last meeting in September that the task force is having.
Okay. That is one suggestion we could do.
What would that look like? I guess I'm not sure. Folks have said we need another, a meeting to discuss this, and I agree. I don't think that anybody should be making a vote in one way or another without hearing from proponents of both options, governance options. But what would that look like? Would it be bringing people in to talk with us? Like, Margaret was at the last one. That was very helpful for what her input was. Is there somebody similar who's they're proponents of districts instead of SUs that we can hear from as well? Because I feel like right now it's been very one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing too is, when is the next student success committee?
The input I've got from most of the members is for next week.
The third?
The third?
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you talking about our next meeting?
No. That's the-
the task force.
That was, no, we're talking about student
Success.
success
No.
was the question. I do have, it's, the one thing, I get the special meeting and I do get your question. And yes, I'm sure that we can have more robust conversation about the differences between and the pros and cons of both. Because I think that's important while the board makes its decision. Also are the fact that we need dance partners for it to really be like, and so far I have a tepid response to engage with us from Franklin Northeast, like reluctantly accept that we should probably have a conversation. Like that's what I got. And then and I like your idea, Pierrette, about having a small group, like a subcommittee of each board, but the other boards did not suggest that. They suggested an initial conversation with just the superintendents and board chairs, even just talk about, what are you even talking about?
Yeah,
Because I
what do you wanna
think,
talk
you know, they're not in the same place. So so I think that's relevant information to have while the board's making its decision. Are the other people wanting to dance, right? That really is an important part of your conversation.
So why don't we do this? Our next meeting is the 26th.
After the 9th meeting, yes.
So we will, we'll have it on the agenda for discussion. There's enough time to see a lot of what could happen this month. And that way we have it as a point to talk to before any deadline would occur. And that way, you know, it's there. And that way we at least meet that initial deadline to have further talks about it. And hopefully by then we have a little bit more information.
You know, if people think that Alliance or whoever is slanted, VSBA has put out data, I think, comparatively, that are facts. It's not opinion, it's facts. This is what happens with an SD, this SU. And I think that we've depended on VSBA for many years for factual information. I don't know if VSBA has taken a position. I've followed it, but I haven't seen that. But, you know, if we're concerned that we're being lobbied, then let's look at the facts. And they're pretty clear. I've read them multiple times. I'm sure you've seen it too. And board members have probably received it too from VSBA. They give their weekly updates. And there was one, I don't know, might have been a month ago. It really just says, if you decide to join an SD, if you decide to do an SU, and it goes through almost line by line. I mean, that's not tainted by anybody.
Yeah, that's true. We can get some of that information.
Is
So
there
that,
no way to have it on the, I'm going to be in Mexico, so there's no way that I can join that meeting. And if there is any way that we can shift anything so it's on the next, I would. But I understand if not, but just know there's no way that I will be on that call.
all right, we'll try to figure out. the
We can
agenda.
shift the board meeting.
Okay. That kind of brings us into committee discussion. Joanne had asked multiple times that we actually dive into the committees a little bit. So I will let you open this up, Joanne.
Well, the only reason I wanted to bring it back up is I just feel when we had our first March meeting with our new board, that there was still one or two kind of open suggestions. One of them was the athletic committee. Or extracurricular, yes, thank you, Stephanie, committee, that I felt we had tabled it. We kind of went around for a little bit, and there was mixed feelings on it, and we never really brought it back. I believe we had said that when we have a retreat, we'll talk about it. I think that's how we had left it, and we did have our retreat, but we ran out of time. Like we always run out of time at retreats, so there's always good conversation, and there's never enough time. So there was a quick rundown that Deb gave us of what a committee, should be for, and how we use our committees. And so I just wanted to, bring it back up, because we never really had a debrief. Well, we just went through the goals, so that was good, but we didn't really debrief from our retreat that we did in July.
And just for clarification, the discussion of, we didn't really get to it, but the discussion of committees at the retreat was not which committees we should have. It was a discussion on the purpose of committees as sort of like, the VSBA guidelines. So
Which she did in like a 2-minute version.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that public meeting is the time to talk about our committees and what we are or not doing with them, or why we should, the membership and all that. So I just want to make sure that's being reflected. So yeah, so go ahead. Right now, we don't have it in front of me, but we have
Let me see if I can pull up Debbie's.
committees. We have the Facilities Committee, the Finance Committee, Finance and Budget, Student Success Committee, And then as
We have
needed,
negotiations committee.
negotiations, we have ag committee, and then we had the, was it health representative?
That's not a committee. I think that's just an appointment.
Just an appointment. Am I missing any?
There's
Regional
the
advisory
Regional Advisory Board, we have a representative that joins that. It's not a committee, but
Yeah.
And the ag too, right? Like, that's
Right.
not a committee, that's just
it's,
advisory.
there's board reps.
Yeah.
It's not a committee of the board.
Okay.
There's-
So, yeah, so we have currently 3 committees. Yeah, what discussion?
Yeah, oh, well, no, I just wanted to bring it back up. I wasn't sure if it's, so I do have them, Julie. I don't know if you have it or not, but.
I was looking for Debbie's worksheet.
Yep, I have it.
Okay,
I have
perfect. Yeah, I have it too.
So is there still interest? So I think that really should be the question is there still interest for extracurricular activity
I think so,
committee?
but I'm not sure if it's neat. I don't know.
Again, I worry about, and part of what, Debbie's sharing with us is the purpose of the committee should not be doing administrative work, right? And that's where
Yeah.
my pushback had been.
Yeah.
That I want to bring robust reports to the board and to student success. If student success says, I want to hear more about, or wouldn't that be a good report to do with full board? But not then get into, again, the danger particularly with athletics is all of a sudden it's who's getting enough ice time is coming up, and do we like this coach or not like that coach, which is not the role of the board. It's, and it's just, and it's
I think
political.
a lot of it.
It's so messy
From
for you
what
guys.
I heard last year was the money.
Yeah,
How is money divided? That's what people want to know is which sports are getting what for money, and
and that would be a really good report to the board if the board had a question about that.
I think we started that.
That should come from the administration.
Yeah.
The reason I like the 3 committees, I think they've been successful, but I hear it from Rennick quite often, but I've heard it other board chairs. We have a lot of things on our agenda, we have a lot of things, meetings. The way it is now, everybody can serve on one committee if they want to go to a second one. We start building committees. In fact, I have one that I would really want, if we're going to add committees. First thing you know, we're all on 2 committees. No, I think we lose that role.
I think you did definitely discuss the fact that when you make your determination about what the superintendent evaluation process is going to be, you'll have a committee that does that. It'll probably meet 2 times or something, right? And we will have another year of negotiations again, so we'll be looking for 3 people who would love to spend an evening every other week with us.
Not it.
Joanne volunteered. Joanne and Peter know.
Yep.
Peter is like,
Peter rocks it.
negotiations all
With
day.
negotiations, I'm not gonna
I don't know,
lie.
we did negotiations last year.
But see, you're all warmed up, Elaine. So-
You know what to do.
But I'm just putting that out there, that you have that committee as well, and that's definitely board work, right? And it's temporary and it's for a short period.
I think that's what got me when she was talking about the committees and that they were, the point of them was really clear, and also that they should be very focused. And I know that at the end of her very condensed spiel, but looking at the worksheet, which I don't have, but what I walked away with was, student success committee should not exist because it isn't fulfilling any of those things. And I think that what we're doing next week, I think that's sort of what the committee should be. It should be a very short term, these are the topics we want to talk about and bring to the full board. I think that will be more beneficial. As for the athletics committee, extracurriculars, I have no opinion. But it was very helpful to get that outline for me. And so I would say, if anything, I would be in support of changing the Student Success Committee so that it's more about figuring out what those topics are that the full board wants to know, because so far it's been a lot of repeat and it's a lot of work for Julie and you know, Yeshua's there every time, Jen, everybody. And then they have to sort of regurgitate it at another meeting, and that hit me. I was like, oh, we're doing that wrong. So that's my input on committees. I think I would be open to adjusting the student success committee, and then as for any other ones, then I have no skin in that game.
So just so we work backwards, one of the things that we talked about at the retreat was just making sure that the committee has a charge. There's a charge of the committee. So I think we can all agree facilities has a very clear charge, which is help, talk in more detail about the facilities. So I don't think there's an issue there. Finance, same thing, right? We're talking budget, and then we have check marks we have to do.
Yeah, so can I just make a comment on that? Just to go back to what Stephanie's, I'm gonna call it a concern, right? A public concern of finances. Maybe this is where that public concern of,
How does the money work?
how's the money work?
Right.
That's something
so that's
we're
something
actively
that
working
could
on with the AD
be
and the principal.
brought to that committee. I know, to me, I just feel like finance shouldn't just be budget. Like, I feel like there's more than just budget for finances.
We can add more to anything, but it's just making sure that the committee
It
structure
falls.
as structured is what we want it to be. So we can add more to that, absolutely.
Comment online.
Curette?
Yeah, I agree with what Megan said. I think that's a very good idea, because it did seem to me that there was a lot of repeating things happening, or sometimes it would happen at the committee level, and then I realized if I didn't attend that, sometimes I wouldn't know, and I really wish some of those presentations were at the full board level, and then if you have it at your committee and you have it at the full board level, it is a repeat. And I feel like and I don't think people are yankering to add more committees, but if we're really yankering for one, I would think that a very temporary redistricting committee might be a good idea. Again, I think we could just lay the groundwork for the full board, not to make decisions, decide things, but maybe lay the groundwork so that when we go to the full board, some of these things that we're trying to discuss and we're just circling around and we don't know what to do, that committee could, like I said, lay the groundwork and also meet along with the chair with some of these other districts to see what are they thinking, where would they like to go, and we could have things ready and beefed up really for the full board.
So that is one possible idea. Absolutely. To not lose sight of it though, with our existing committees, so finance, facilities, brought up athletics, we have student success, Megan says she doesn't need. I want to make sure if we're talking about it, we have clear direction. So you are the chair of the student success committee, so is that something that you as chair of that committee and also the rest of the board, do we want to maintain that? Do you want to repurpose that?
I'd like to at least meet next week.
That was the purpose of the agenda, to really have that discussion and then talk about, maybe instead of receiving reports every month, it's a group that meets, we figure out how often and then discuss, forecasting out, like what are the things from the strategic plan that the board wants to get? How will the board know if it's met its own goals, right? So that is part of it. So that was the conversation we were gonna have next Wednesday.
And I think what I'm hearing is our agendas are very full. And there's board members that just want to hear and want to learn. And there's always things happening in the committees. I try to join the facilities committee every single time. They have an hour and a half, 2 hour meeting. When Peter comes back and reviews his minutes or when Laura presents to us, we don't get everything back. So I was under the impression that so I agree with Megan. There's definitely a lot of repeat. So we'll go over that as far as the student success, but just a deeper dive. So if you're interested in something, Julie puts out the agenda, or Laura, just whoever's committee it is, it doesn't matter. There's always an agenda. And if a board member wants to join in because they want to see the pictures of, all the construction that's going on, then that's the time for the board members to get that additional information, because in a 2-hour board meeting twice a month, it's impossible for us to go through everything. We have 4 schools.
To Purett's point though, like that makes it, and I think Dawn mentioned this too, that makes it really hard. I want to get all of this information. I can't. I just literally cannot. So I think how the facilities committee runs right now is perfect, because that stuff boggles my mind. And I'm just like, yes, Peter, great summary. That's wonderful. But there are things, I don't know. I think that's hard, because I make the time for what I think is like super, super important, which is here. But at the same time, I'm sort of like, if it's super, super important, shouldn't it be at here? Or at least,
Yeah.
I don't know. I keep talking in circles. You can tell me shut up too.
No. That's we're just trying to figure it out. The deeper dive in the committees and the super, super important stuff at the board meetings. Like, I don't.
So if we cut the difference though for a second, we have to remember that a committee needs a charge, right? The information is, I think there's endless amounts of information that we could ask for. And there's not much that we request of admin that they don't provide informationally, honestly, also through emails and reports and a lot of stuff. So I think we also have to remember, and that's something for you to discuss next week, which is what's the charge? If the charge is to provide a deeper dive on our board goal, which is student outcomes, and that's what it is, and maybe it's less directive, that's fine, as long as there just is one. I will put out that before it was student outcomes, it was a board goal committee.
Yep.
And it was where the committee would review the board goals, and then they could establish what information or what they were working toward the goals, like an action plan, right? And then part of that could be, maybe instead of Kosha being there every other month, maybe once every 3-4 months, she provides an in-depth report as part of, is this working towards our goal? I mean, that could be a charge. That could be a way to formulate it. And then I would say the same thing when you propose athletic committee, what is a charge? Because that is, operationally, I think that's a little too far down, right? But if it's providing information or updates or deeper dives, then we have to decide, because we get both. You get the board members who are like, that's great information, I want to hear it at a meeting if I can't attend the committee. And then you get also, well, if you want more information, go to the committee. And we do have to kind of square where it is. So maybe you can come to us after the next meeting and say how it went and what you guys did. Peter?
Is there a athletic or extracurricular committee within the administration?
Yes.
So my thing is, instead of maybe having a committee on the board, that would board members be able to go to the committee just to listen in or to see what's going on in the committee?
Before they answer, would that not change the nature of their meeting then?
They're like, if I go to it, I'm not going to tell them, I'm just going to listen in what is going on. I'm not there to change direction or even to give input. I'm just wanting to learn, because that's the things we've been saying, right? We don't know what's going on, where things are happening. I'm just talking about if a board member is interested in the extracurricular. I don't see myself going, but I know other members are more interested. that there shouldn't be anything to hide, right? Why wouldn't we be able to listen?
Can we circle back to why that even came up in the first place? I think it came up in the first place because of everything that went down. And a good chunk of it was.
Everything that went down.
Right. Can you, and I'm not going to elaborate, but a good chunk of it goes back to the admin reports. The reports we got were very one-sided. Several of us didn't know that the job went beyond athletics. It was also extracurriculars. You literally got score stats, and that was about it. So I feel like instead of having a committee, I feel like admin already has this handled. We just need to ensure that the new AD gives us a very robust report. And as long as that's being done, as long as that's being done, I think that's all we need to do. Because otherwise you're segregating one department from everybody else. We're not controlling everybody else. Why are we now picking on this department?
So,
It's a great comment.
couple things. So, kind of reiterating what Dawn had said last year, which is, this is just my sole opinion. I think we just need to give administration time to work with our new AD, to figure out what they're doing. I don't think any new committee right now is necessary with the amount of stuff that we're about to have on our plate. I think it's just continuing to find ways to communicate what's going on through reports. Is there an issue if there's things that you're doing that, hey, if you want to attend, not just attend, or is that not?
I just think right now, if there was a purpose, a very specific purpose, right now we're spending a lot of time talking about these are our procedures, these are our processes. He's asking very general questions about what form do I use, and that's really important work for right now. Or how do I hire coaches? And those are all processes we've always had. And then he's taking that information and being really thoughtful about communicating it to his coaches, which we also talk about, and to his advisors.
And he did it in
parents.
the high school meeting too, which I was don't go to school board members right after a game or before.
Thank you.
I was like, I don't know who told you to say that.
Now you can go to a hockey game.
Yes.
And he brought me to the coaches meeting, and he's communicating, and a lot of that is being pushed out on social media. So I'm just saying right now the meetings are very much focused on kind of administrative or, different processes. I'm not sure how interesting it would be, but
He's building the foundation.
Yes,
and we need that foundation so that we can then get the reports that have the information that folks are looking
And
for.
what I would really like to hear, I would like to hear, is, so he's going to give his first report September 9th. It is the 9th, right? I keep saying it as if it is.
It is now.
It is now, that Tuesday. And my hope, we're going to speak with them about the kinds of things. But then, if you're saying, I wish that we heard more about A, B, and C, tell me. Because he's so responsive. And he wants to share the information you want to hear. So that, all I need to hear is, we needed to hear more about X. And then the next report will have it, right? So that, I think, as we grow him, he's already very confident, an incredibly skilled listener, good communicator with the community and with our administrative team. I've really been pleased with that. You always hold your breath a little, right, in the beginning. But so far, I'm feeling really good about that. And so we want to make sure that the board is getting, again, not throwing anybody anywhere, but much more robust reports.
and the community.
And to the community. For example, they just passed a law about cell phone use and social media. And it doesn't go into effect till next year, and we're already a school that bans cell phones, right? But we'll wait till that model policy comes out and we'll put it out to everybody. But we already talked about, I want to make sure your coaches are prepared. We're not having Facebook groups for communicating with kids. We are going to be using Parent Square for that. So we're going to have to set that up, and it's, thank heavens I'm not in charge of it. But I'm sure there will be lots of activating teams and unactivating them when the season's over. But that work, that will be secure, follow the law. There won't be, kids finding out what their practice is on Facebook, right? Like, that's not how we're going to be communicating with families.
Or
He was
other
all over
inappropriate
that. He was
messages.
all over that. Right, because if we are doing that, then we're responsible for the inappropriate, you know. So yes, that was a great example, I thought, of how responsive he was.
Okay.
I have a question related. So we're talking about, you know, we have a new AD, so it's timely,
Yeah.
and making sure that the reports are what we want, have the information we're looking for. At what point can we do that with admin reports? Like, I know we did it a few years ago.
What do you mean?
Like, providing feedback. We've gotten this sort of updated admin report for the past couple years.
Are you speaking admin or are you speaking principals?
Principals reports.
Okay.
When is the time for the board to provide feedback or suggestions on those? Because
Right now.
I don't know when things are, and you don't want to mess with anybody's groove, and I know they take a lot of time to put them together.
I would say right now.
Okay.
Even though it's not an action item on the agenda. But I do want to say, I want to have our principals and our administrators use their reports to report out on things from the strategic plan. So I want there to be a way to say, you know, we've engaged the community in this way, or students went out into the community in this way, and reference it. And JR is out on paternity leave, so I'm, you know, not asking him to develop a template, but I kind of would like to do something like that. Obviously, we want to know about the upcoming events, and we want to know that, but that actually comes under community engagement. Like, we can talk about things in a purposeful way. So, and that might actually be a discussion to have at the Student Success Committee meeting, like, is that a way for us to be, another way of getting reports? So that some of it is more purposeful.
Okay.
That's just a thought.
I think mine is, so we implemented the principals reports, and we asked for, like, tell us this, and then last year we introduced, you know,
Problems.
the problem, whatever it's called. But I feel like we're still spending too much time. I feel like the expectation is not clear that those reports be reviewed prior, and that we come with questions, and if there are no questions, we move on.
Yeah.
And it's, maybe that's just me.
No, it's the
but I
principals
don't
feel that too.
I don't like
what
putting
you-
people on the spot and be like, is there anything you want to highlight? Is there something you want to talk about? If there is, I feel like we should know that beforehand, and that I don't want to force them to engage when they're not, that's not what we've asked them to do. We've asked them to prepare and share with us these reports, and then we ask questions from that report, and I feel like we don't do that right now.
Yeah.
So that's my feedback.
That is definitely a frustration, I think, because they don't know what to do, right? So they do report, they write up their report, and you're right, it takes a lot of time that they don't have,
Yeah.
and they do it willingly, because it's important to communicate what's happening in their school, and they want to celebrate what's happening in their schools. But they do, it's sometimes there's questions, and sometimes it's a highlight, and sometimes it's tell us what your report is out loud.
Right.
And that, it would be nice to make that a little more predictable, yes.
Okay.
But that was my hope, that with the strategic plan, that maybe we could roll that into the structure of it somehow. Maybe we can talk about that on the 9th when
Okay.
we are with the whole admin team there. Not direct them to, but maybe have a conversation about what
Yeah.
would be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, because it just feels like we ask for these reports, and then we're just forcing a conversation that shouldn't be forced.
Okay, so
Online comment.
that was Purette.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that I want to say is I've always liked, provided it's short, but I've always liked for each principal to highlight something from their school. And if they know that ahead of time, they can highlight whatever they want. But I think we should do that because we get the report, but the public doesn't get to hear what's going on in the school. Yes, I know they can go on the board reports and go read it for themselves, but I really think that it's really nice when each principal says, oh, I got this going on with my grade. We have this real successful professional development thing that happened that was so great, so exciting, or something that the students did. I love it when they do a highlight, and I love when the public can hear it, because I think that's so interesting for the public to hear these great things that are going on in the school. And it can be just one highlight, and it can be just a minute or two. It doesn't have to be a long thing, but I really love that part, and I wish that that's what we would focus on.
So consistency in what we ask for.
Okay, so I don't want to go too much off of, this may be something that you could bring up in student success potentially as like a sub-issue. Just playing sort of devil advocate, a lot of times I think as board members, we all want different things and then we ask things, and I do think we need at least some consistency for admin, and then making sure that we're also taking in the information that's provided to us, right? Okay, so just closing out the committee. So Joanne's gonna meet, and then maybe you can just bring back to us at some point sort of the result of that meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, Peter?
I'd just like to request Purette's request that our next meeting that we have on the agenda, redistricting committee with possible action.
As a possible committee? We can put that on there. The only thing I would put out to the board is I see everyone on the board wanting to be on that committee and have that discussion. And I'm just.
We can discuss it and see where we end up.
That's fine. We can add that to the end. So that would be just a redistricting subcommittee. Okay. Sure. Anything else? Okay. All right, so we have year-end financial report.
Yes. That was in the drive. I'm sorry, I couldn't link it in the agenda. There it was just a PDF, so, but it is in the drive. And just to mention a couple of things, this is the final report prior to the audit being finalized, which is happening this week, by the way, and going well. You'll see that we have a projected carryover of, sorry, my glasses on, 3.2 million, just over 3.2 million. I just want to draw your attention to the fact that 1.4, almost 1.5 of that is because of revenue, mostly because of extraordinary special ed costs and receiving more revenue with that. And also our interest, of course, when we budget, we don't know what our rates are going to be. And so on our reinvestment option, on our tax anticipation note, we made a lot of interest. We also paid a little bit more interest, but so that you're seeing that on the revenue side. And then overall, the expenditure budget being underexpended by about 1.7. Of course, that's after utilizing some of the surplus for some small to medium-sized capital projects that the facility committee brought forward and the board approved. So ended in good shape.
Is that about 40 to 50% more than we usually carry over?
No, this has actually been pretty typical.
3 million?
Somewhere in that ballpark.
I didn't realize we ever went over 2 million.
I know it sounds like a big number, but when you're the $50 million
No, I'm not
budget,
making a big number, but I just wondered how it related to the last 4 or 5 years.
We always count on at least approximately $1 million to offset taxes. Has been pretty consistent because we don't want to count on more than we know we're going to have. And we spend a lot of money on, there's a lot of expenses related to student services and contracts, and we do our best to estimate exactly where we're going to end up with some of those, but
We can't know.
they change, by the day, so.
And I am worried about the special ed extraordinary reimbursement shifting in this next legislative session.
Yeah.
It's definitely the
Something to
tone of the
watch, yeah.
report being written right now.
Do the auditors ever address that?
What's that?
What is on a reasonable carryover?
It's something, I believe, that's in the new law talking about what is appropriate, because other states have a very clear guidance for what is necessary and how many months worth of expenses a school board should be carrying it forward into the next year, and Vermont's never done that, and I think business managers have BASBO's brought that to the light, that, a lot of things we can't control when we go into a school year and we're budgeting really tight and we have nothing to work with if we,
If anything, that's a month's worth of expenses.
yeah.
That's a
But there
lot.
Right.
there should be some guidance. I'm not saying
Yeah.
about us, but,
Yeah, they're working on it.
okay.
I just wanted to share something about athletics because if I can, it's a point of interest. I think it's something you'd be interested in. You're probably going to find out before he comes to present. Connor and myself and Jason have worked with the principal, Dan. We will be bringing back fireworks to homecoming. We've met with I've talked with the insurance company. We've talked with lawyers about risk. We've got a full comprehensive list about mitigating risk. We're going to be meeting this week, Jason, Dan, myself, and Connor, about logistics, bringing in the right security and safety people. But I think it's sort of that message is sort of getting out there, and I just want to make sure the board's aware so that that's going to be happening. We had stopped doing that because of budget constraints, EEE concerns. That could still be a concern this year, so we made sure our contract has a rain date or a second date on it.
I thought that was the reason was.
It was because
Couldn't be outside after 6.
we couldn't be outside after 6. And I'm just doing this, that we haven't heard that there's an outbreak again, because that really impacted powder puff practices. It impacted the homecoming dance being outdoors was a big draw for students, and having it indoors was apparently a big drag. And I'm very sure that's not the way they express that. But it is. But you can't have fireworks when you're not allowed to be outside. So it was just a celebratory.
Really clean.
Lots of bug spray. But yeah, I mean, it's a very serious disease. If somebody gets the bite, it's often fatal. So it's not oops, you might get, the flu or something. It's a very serious thing. So we take it seriously. And at this point, all you have to do is wait for a frost. And that used to be September, but it just isn't anymore. So if for some reason something does mean we have to postpone that, we'll do something else after a frost so that we can have that celebration for kids in the community, because it's fun.
Celebrate a championship.
That's right. It'd be great to celebrate another championship.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, next we had elementary alternative ed teacher action.
Oh wait, this had an action for the business office. This action. Do you
Usually
need something?
accept it.
Usually accept the report.
I apologize. So we make a motion to accept the year-end report. Can I have a motion to accept the year-end financial report?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Oh boy, it's like a battle.
Elaine's closer, so I heard her. All right, all in favor of accepting the year-end report, say aye.
Aye.
Curette?
Thumbs up.
There you go. Okay, now we have elementary alternative ed teacher.
This is our final hires. I didn't meet with her until the day after the last board meeting, so I wasn't able to put her name on the list. Her name is Hannah Walton. She comes to us, actually she does a lot of outdoor education. She teaches sailing with multiple, she runs that whole program in Burlington. Tanya is really excited about her coming to us to work with, it says Swanton here, but it's elementary. The program will take place in Swanton. We have a real sustainability focused process. Tanya's done some great work with Shelburne Farms, and they have a whole program, and hopefully tying in the middle school program as well. So and we're going to be utilizing, this will be a good report to the board, we'll be utilizing the Missisquoi Reserve classroom that they have. It's a beautiful building. And we'll be using that occasionally until when Swanton is all finished in December and people move around after the holiday break. Then there'll be a classroom, but until then, we're going to have like a slow roll of it, but we're excited about Hannah. Since there's just one, there's more to say.
All right.
Can we put it under our future meetings, maybe 3-4 months out, have this person come in and talk to us?
Well, we'd love to have a report on all of our alternative programming. Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be great.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the alternative ed teacher hire?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right,
I've already done one.
You already seconded it?
No.
We did done.
Dawn
You've got it.
seconded it.
There you go.
I
Okay.
like alternative.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Say opposed, Purette. Is that a green check now?
Creative.
Let's get close to 8, Purette, okay?
It says on there, green check is yes, it doesn't say yes.
It does. That's great. That's new.
I'll just put the raise the hand if I want, if I say yes, okay? I don't know what to do.
Actually, it was working.
So, next we have elementary SRO update. If you have a little update for us.
Yes, you folks approved at, not the last meeting, but I think the meeting before, us moving forward with the contract as long as it was no more than 3 years, including the first year being paid by Swanton, and then the administrators having an opportunity to meet with the candidate. We have moved forward with the candidate. His name is Chad Para. He is a Franklin resident and long-term Swanton. He grew up in Swanton. He is a longtime Swanton police officer who left to work for the federal government for a little bit and is really excited. I believe he was a sergeant when he left Swanton PD. Very kid-centered. The elementary principals and I met with him. The poor Chad did not know that that was the room full of people he was getting. He thought he was just meeting with me. That was not a trick, but he handled it beautifully. The elementary principals really were excited about him supporting their schools and school safety initiatives and working alongside Dean as a team. So we're very excited about that. It was a good result.
It's awesome.
That's good.
Okay.
Will they be starting?
I told, he has to give notice to his position, but I wanted to make sure I informed the board first.
Gotcha.
Went through that.
No, that's great. That's very good for schools. Okay, all right, so future agenda items, we have the continuous improvement plan, athletic director update, superintendent evaluation. We also have
You're gonna
Discussion.
add the committee, yep.
discussion on a subcommittee. I also heard tonight, do we want discussion about potentially having a special meeting about this, if we're talking about subcommittee at the same time?
And Julie, you mentioned eventually to bring in alternative education.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll go on my master list. I try and just update the next
I always like to hear about those things before we get too far into budget, because it's something we think we want to expand. So.
I'm already exhausted, we haven't got to budget, so I'm taking a vacation on
in the strategic plan.
So my question is, so if we're talking about potentially a subcommittee for that, I think it would be great to also discuss alternatively or having a special meeting about the subject, so we can put that on the agenda. The only thing I would be mindful of that for next meeting is the discussion of if we do that and not the discussion itself.
Right.
I just want to make that distinction because I'll put it at the end so that we're all super tired. Okay? All right, anything else to add for future agenda items that I'm missing? Okay. And reminder, we have dinner with administration, strategic rollout. Julie said we have lobster coming.
No,
Oh,
my
sweet.
goodness.
I love lobster rolls.
no, public dollars. No, sir. But,
Hot dogs.
and we will warn that because it will likely have a quorum of the board.
Okay, sure.
Is that going to start at 6 or earlier?
5.
We'll start at 5.
5.
5, and that's at MV. that would be
MVU, yep.
Okay. All right, perfect.
Pizza.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, adjourned, staff?
Bye.
And here we had.